Alright, so I'm going to go over this real quick. And I'm starting on bending things. So we've got to bend binding, sides, lining. Those are the three things that we've got to bend. So this is the bending jig machine that I have. I did about 20 guitars on a pipe, and then I got this system, and this is much better. Things go a lot quicker and easier. So inside here I have a piece of wood that's shaped like the side of the guitar. Attached to that piece of wood is a metal slat that's screwed in to the shape of that wood so that heats up. Now my sandwich is that I've got a heating element in here, and you'll see that in a moment when I take this off. And then on top of that is a piece of spring steel in order to support the sides or whatever you're bending here. Ouch, I just got myself. On the other side that you probably can't see very well is this. It is a temperature controller. It has a variable temperature control, which will get me in the ballpark of where I need to be. I use a couple of clamps and part of a neck that didn't work out so well for me on top of this to hold the middle down, and then I use this apparatus, which is a couple of pieces of a threaded wire with some wing nuts and some wood. Cheap way to do this, albeit, but this is by far the easiest method that I've found. So while I'm waiting for that to get fully hot, and it is hot already, you'll notice I have my binding right here ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I have a piece of aluminum foil, and I'm going to put shiny side up here. Although I don't know if it's really important which side you use or not. Okay. And the other thing I need is a Sharpie. Reference purposes. Alright. I know that I want this side to be towards the headstock of the guitar, and this side to be towards the butt of the guitar. I'm just going to make that determination beforehand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz the entire length of the binding with water. Flip it around, do the same thing with the other side. Then I'm going to take my aluminum foil and wrap it. Like so. Let's keep the moisture in. Like I said, I wanted this side to be towards the headstock. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but we're going to get in the ballpark. So right about here, I think. Mark a line. I'll do the same thing with sides, when I do sides, and with linings. And the reason I do that is so that I have a reference point here for where I want my waist to be. Okay. Alright, so I've got that taken care of. I've got my gloves on. The iron has been heating, so it should be hot. This is loose, so I'm going to just pull that. I just have that holding things in place very carefully. Come on. Helps if you can get it over your clamp, right? Okay, set that aside for just a moment, somewhere where you can find it. I'm going to undo my clamps here. This will be the first thing that I push down here in a moment. So I want to keep those nearby. My sandwich material. Put this over here where I can find it in just a moment. My metal slat. There's my heating element. Line up my middle. Heating element. Notice I'm wearing my gloves. Start getting that hot. Hate it when things drop. Make sure I'm still lined up in center. Begin pressing down on your center line. Use your clamp. Once you have the waist all the way down, which shouldn't take too long, clamp that in place. I've got to come up with a better way to do this, but this is how I figured it. Ah! I'll drop that off of there 3 times now. Alright, so that part's on there. It's cooking. Get this down here. Start bending. You can push lightly on both sides all the way. Make sure your threaded rod goes around where it's supposed to go around. When you get to the end of your bend, we're done here. Turn my heat off. I'm going to let it sit. Just like that. And I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes or so. That should cook it just enough for it to stay in shape. And then I can pull it off. Alright, so when everything has cooled, give it a while, you can pull your slat, your side or your binding or whatever you got out. If you're very careful in wrapping it, you can save the aluminum to use again. In this case, I won't, because I have Padauk in the binding, and Padauk notoriously gets on everything. So my foil is done for there. But as you can see, this is a very effective way to get the bending done without breaking it. And well enough that the binding stays together pretty good. So if you'll remember, I glued this binding together with Titebond. So I've got one little section right here that I'm not happy about, but I think that I can sand that out and still make it look nice. So that's that. So you use the same procedure. Do the same thing, exactly the same thing, when you're doing the back, the sides, and the lining, as you do with this. So I forgot to mention, your sides have already been dimensioned and they are directional. So you remember that we marked which side would be to the top. So we need to make sure that when we do the bending, that side, when we mark it, we mark that one perpendicular, exactly where we want it marked, and we bend with that one as close to straight in bending iron as we can. because if we don't, we're going to end up with something that's a bit lopsided. So make sure you bend your sides in the correct direction, okay? Because you don't want your top to have so much arch like your back does. Because remember, from the front to the back, there's a curve in your back. So keep that in mind when you get ready to bend the sides. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a side for you. Sides, when I do them, I do the same process that I did for the binding, but I leave them in that overnight. So you got to only do one side a day. There's a purpose behind that, and that is because I want the side to kind of be baked into that shape as much as possible. So it's good if you can do that with binding, but I'm okay because once I get to the point of binding, I may have to take out the bending iron and like reshape parts of it to make sure that they are absolutely perfect for what I'm doing after I've got the sides bent. So I will be doing that. So I'm not going to be as anal about making sure that those are baked into there overnight. Same process here. Got that in there. I want to make sure that I know which side is my outside and where my line is. So my line, get my marker out here. My line is right here. And I'm going to put arrows to make sure I know which side needs to be lined up. Absolutely. Top is where my line is. That side is where the top is in relation to my wood. I'm going to curl that end up as much as I can. Ideally, your foil will go all the way to the end, but you will have, if you get this in there correctly, you will have some space on both ends that will be excess that you will cut off once you've got it together. All right, so that's ready to go. I'm going to kind of set that aside just a little bit. Go ahead and remove some things here so that I can get this ready to go. My bending apparatus. Notice I'm using a different clamp now because the other one decided that it didn't like to tighten down. So, alright. Very carefully, actually you know what we're going to do, we're just going to lift, set, make sure our end goes where it's supposed to. Alright. We're in there as straight as we can get it. Looks like, for the most part. Begin my journey at the waist. Taking it in. I don't like that it's coming off. Okay, get that just a little bit more. I can go the other way. I don't know which way I'm going. Tighty, tighty, lefty loosey. There we go. Good. All right, now this side. Sizzle is okay, crack pop not so good. So come on, over the clamp. Double check. You've got it where you want it. And hopefully it's in there straight and it goes. So we will check on that tomorrow.